Beyond the buzzer, inside the game, this is SportsIQ with Larry Smith.
Almost to the weekend, almost to Derby weekend. Glad you're here with us. Larry Smith, producer Tony, and our editor Josh as well. All three of us coming together, as we say, 3 states is what we're in, but one love, baby. Another great show for you coming up. We are going to break down Derby things here with Kevin Kilroy. Our friend is back to talk a little horse racing. We're going to have another guest tomorrow coming up as well. Kyle Hampton going to join us talking Derby. So 2 days of Derby talk to get you ready to place your bets for the Oaks. It's now Friday night. That's the ladies first. And then the fellas in the Derby. 152nd running of both of these historic races from Churchill Downs. 150,000 of your closest friends. You just haven't met him yet for the Derby, the greatest 2 minutes in sports. We'll talk about that coming up. So Kevin's on the way here in a couple of minutes, standing by, and then Dennis Ackerman will join us, our good friend, and talking with producer Tony about the Raiders and the NFL stuff as well. We don't want to forget our football. That's coming up. Okay, let's get to something we saw last night, NHL. 3 NHL series on the ice. Penguins trying to force a deciding Game 7, trailing Philadelphia 3-0 at one point in that series. But a roller coaster night. Game scoreless after regulation and ended when the Flyers' Cam York sent a slap shot past the goalie for the 1-0 win. So the Flyers go on, get their 4th win in that series, and move on. And, of course, it got us to thinking, Penguins fans may have witnessed the final act of the greatest trio to play not only in the NHL, but possibly even professional sports as well. There have been many memorable trios in sports. The 90s Cowboys had Ackerman, Smith, and Irvin, 3 Super Bowls in 4 seasons. The Celtics of the 80s had Bird, McHale, and Parrish. The 90s Lakers had Magic, Worthy, and Kareem. The Bulls in the 90s, Michael, Scotty, and Dennis Rodman. But none of those put together the kind of longevity that the Pens trio of Sidney Crosby, Evgeny Malkin, and Chris Letang. Consider this. The trio played together for 20 seasons. That is the longest in all of professional sports history. The nearest competitor to that title is the Yankees. Derek Jeter, Mariano Rivera, and Jorge Posada played together for 17 seasons in New York. And that seemed crazy. They did it for 20. The Penguins trio combining in their careers for 3 Stanley Cups, including back-to-back wins in 2016 and 2017. And if you want awards, this trio certainly racked those up as well. Combined, the trio has 3 Conn Smythe trophies as playoff MVP, 4 Hart Memorial trophies as most valuable player. They have 4 Ross trophies for leading the league in scoring, 4 Lord Lindsay trophies as the most outstanding player in the league. They have 1 Rookie of the Year award, which went to Malkin. Crosby was beat out for Rookie of the Year in his rookie season. Some guy named Ovechkin, you might have heard of him. And they have 1 Masterson trophy, which honors the player who best exemplifies perseverance, sportsmanship, and dedication to hockey. That went to Letang back in the 2022-23 season when he came back from having a stroke and losing his father in the same season. What records does the trio have in the Penguins team record book? Well, combined, 1,360 goals, 2,596 assists for a total of 3,956 points in the regular season. On 5 different occasions, the trio has combined for 10 points in a single game. Additionally, the 3 rank 1st, 2nd, and 3rd in regular season games played in franchise history, each one over 1,200. And for those keeping track, Malkin also is the franchise's all-time penalty minutes leader, 1,259 in 1,264 games. So he knows the penalty box well. And they get better in the playoffs. Crosby, 180 career playoff games, 71 goals, 130 assists, 201 points. Malkin, 177 career playoff games, 67 goals, 113 assists, 180 points. And finally, Letang, 149 career playoff games, 23 goals, 67 assists, 90 points. Malkin is an unrestricted free agent here after the season. If he returns, maybe the trio gets a 21st season together. If not, Penguins fans, you had 20 years, 2 decades of the greatest trio in sports history and a record in this era of free agency we are unlikely to ever witness again. This weekend, big weekend, not only the 1st in May, but also, obviously, it is Kentucky Derby weekend. Kentucky Oaks, the Phillies go on Friday before the fellows go on Saturday. Joining us once again is a racing analyst, handicapper as well, Kevin Kilroy. Kevin, Good to see you. I know you're already there at Churchill Downs. Let's start with the change in the schedule. The Kentucky Oaks going in prime time on NBC Friday night. I mean, wait a minute. What in the what are we, horse racing at night? Major Triple Crown racing at night? What's going on?
Yeah, we don't see this very often, do we? I mean, it's exciting. Hopefully, it does get more eyes on horse racing, which is what we're always wanting. At 8:40 post time, coverage begins at 8 p.m. on NBC, on Peacock, which is great. It's going to be interesting, though, guys. I mean, in terms of the traditions and history here in Louisville, people come. They've got their show-up times, their meet-up times, their places where they start getting after it. So it could get a little wild, as it's known to be around these parts this weekend. So we'll see if everybody's staying sober enough for the big one for the Oaks, or if they are going to be just completely sloshed. Either way, it's going to be a great race.
That was my first takeaway. Is you've done this more than I have. This will be my sixth Derby, and I know how people are behind the wheel at 8:00 when they're leaving after Derby on a Saturday night. What if it's 9:30 after they've been drinking all day long?
It's gonna be entertaining, to say the least. I mean, there's always the stories, right, of sort of walking around this place and seeing some adults who are overserved and maybe even on the ground. I've run into a few who have fallen over. Hopefully, everybody keeps that under control enough to enjoy the big race. But it's going to be a little chilly on Friday, but at least no rain. That's the key. Yeah. I just want a fast track so we can just see honest performances. And as a handicapper, as a bettor, that sloppy track variable is always tricky.
Yeah, exactly. Here's the next question. Why do this? Is it a thing that it's NBC saying, hey, they want to get kind of the, primetime advertising dollars, which are, it's more expensive than obviously the daytime advertising dollars. And is this a precursor? Could we maybe see the Derby or Preakness or Belmont at night instead?
I would think that it was good for both. You're talking about it from NBC's perspective and getting the advertising dollars there. But in terms of Churchill's perspective, listen, horse racing is funny, right? Like, we have so much going on during the workday for so many people, and we're expecting everybody to take off the day and come to the track. And of course, in Louisville, no school, nobody's working basically the whole week except for us at the track. So I'm looking forward to that part. Hopefully, it does increase the excitement, and I think that's the idea behind it.
Yeah, I hope so. Well, let's get to the Derby on Saturday. Regular times so far for that. I should put a shameless plug. Anyone who is just a diehard horse racing, LAX 18, go on Roku, 4 to 8 p.m. Friday. We start at 6 a.m. on Saturday. You'll see me start at 11 o'clock. The Derby, 152nd running of the Kentucky Derby, running for the Roses. We had the draw already earlier, was on Saturday. What surprises right now in the days leading up to the Derby that you're seeing?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of the draw, the big news is that Renegade, the morning line favorite, with horse racing, of course, it's a pari-mutuel market, so we'll see how they bet. But Renegade draws the rail. Now, we haven't seen, I think, 40 years since we've seen a horse win from the rail. It's a tough spot to be. I mean, you think about the 20-horse field, the crush of horses that come over. Everybody's trying to save ground, get that quick, that shortest distance around the oval and get closer to the rail. That can make it for a really tough trip for that rail horse and the number 2 as well. It's hard to win from the 2. So Renegade has a great turn of foot, really does come on late in a big way. That very visually impressive wins in both the Arkansas Derby and the Sam F. Davis. And he's got a great jockey with Irad Ortiz Jr., the best in the business. What does he do is a big question. Does he use a little of his horse in terms of his energy early to make sure he doesn't get caught too far back? Does he just let the throng come over and come from behind? That's a big question mark at a short price. So that's the big story going in there. Renegade also is a horse that's dealing with a little bit of a quarter crack in terms of his hoofs. Just a minor deal. They've got a 3/4 shoe that they put on to sort of help alleviate the pressure because of that. But in terms of trying to run your best race and have your feet hurting a little bit or not your best shoe, it's not always the best scenario.
Yeah, I find that just amazing because obviously horses can't talk, unless you're Mr. Ed. But the fact that trainers know their horses well enough to know when there's something wrong, to inspect them, to do the things the right. I mean, they're a world-class athlete, right, in their own right. And I always find that fascinating in terms of the science behind it all, leading up to post time.
Yeah, there's so much technology advancements that have happened for that too, in terms of being able to scan a horse, get all sorts of different detail and data in terms of how they're doing. But I mean, the real horsemen, they can just see it all and they can feel it out all, and they can just tell when their horses aren't at their best, and they can identify it pretty quick. A lot of it comes down to how are they eating, where are they at in their stall? Do they have their head hanging out? Are they looking for social interaction? Are they hiding in the corner? So all those sort of indicators let these horsemen know what's going on, which is a beautiful thing. I mean, the best horsemen, they just are able to read the energy and know exactly what these horses need. So they identified that, and I guess it was the same situation going into the Arkansas Derby, and he ran great there. So it could be much ado about nothing.
Yeah. Explain that for people who maybe don't know. We get here, and this is when all eyeballs are on horse racing for the next few weeks. But explain how do these horses qualify to get the Churchill Downs? I'm not sure that people really know. They just look and see there's horses here. But this is, a process. You have to do well in other races to get to this point.
Yeah, you got to earn your spot. For a long time, it was all about earnings, how much you have earned. But we found out a lot of sprinters, horses that are better at 6 furlong, shorter distances, a lot of speed were getting in, and it wasn't the true horses that can get a mile and a quarter. So it's prep races that lead up to it. You've got a prep series in New York. You got a prep series in Louisiana. I cover that really closely. Virginia, Florida, California, all these jurisdictions, they've got races that offer points. So the top 20 point earners are the ones who get their spot in the Kentucky Derby. And each race, as you move forward, gets a little bit longer, gets a better field, and offers more points. So if you win the championship series, which is at the end, Arkansas Derby, Florida Derby, Louisiana Derby, etc., then you're able to get that spot. It's a lot of fun. It begins with these horses as 2-year-olds. So last fall, these are only 3-year-olds. That's one thing that I always like to clear up. It's only 3-year-olds that can race in the Derby or the Oaks. And that's how it's always been. So it starts as 2-year-olds, and the preps just keep on rolling forward, and the excitement happens.
Yeah. Okay. Next question for you, Kevin. So the draw is on Saturday, which is a full week in between. How does preparation differ after that? Once you know where your horse is, like you mentioned, if you got a horse on the rail, I'm sure the prep work changes immediately, as opposed if they're coming out of the number 16 post or something.
Yeah, it's an interesting situation. A lot of people have different opinions about it. In the end, the best horse can win, right? And there's so many designs that you can have in terms of working out a good trip. It's hard to get through without traffic, right? In terms of so many horses, it's hard to get a clean trip. But the best horse should be able to get it done from any post position. So that being said, in terms of where the speed draws, in terms of horses that really want to go forward, quick from the gates, get out to the lead and try to lead the pack throughout. Where they draw can adjust the shape of the race and how it unfolds, where the closers draw, etc. And then in terms of like who you draw next to, if you've got a lot of speed right next to you, then you're going to be amped up, and the scramble to get forward is going to be really hard. You could see other jockeys maybe trying to take you out right out of the gates in terms of being aggressive out of the gates to take your position. So all that stuff comes into play in terms of trying to get your handicapping sense for how it might unfold. But still, it's a scramble. It's horses and humans together over 2 minutes, and it's action packed. I mean, it's one of these things where, as a handicapper, I just want to lean on horses that I know have proven themselves to be able to handle taking dirt in their face, handle tight spots, be able to take contact and keep on moving forward. And then also just beat other horses to spots. From the moment the gate pops all the way to the wire, it's aggression. Thoroughbreds have aggression. The best are the alphas. They want to beat other horses to spots. They really want to show themselves in all those sort of mini battles throughout the war. So all that comes into play, but there's no 20 horse races that lead up to it. So it's still a wild card in terms of how it unfolds.
Wow. It is, in one word, it is powerful. I have been either on the first turn or the second turn every time that I go. That's our studio location, if you will. And just the power of these horses, especially the first turn, they're coming right at you, right around that turn. And I been fortunate enough and blessed enough to cover several dozen events around the world. There's nothing like it. There's nothing like it.
There isn't. It's just just a wall of noise that the horses face with the crowd just erupting when they come over that last turn and start, approaching down the stretch. Everybody's just so locked into it.
Yeah.
So thrilled by it. And I agree with you. When I'm there, I mean, when Mystic Dan won, it was such a thrilling finish. It was a photo finish, with Forever Young and Sierra Leone, and Mystic Dan ridden by Brian Hernandez Jr., who's one of my favorites out there. And he just won the Oaks the day before, and I made no money on that race. But still, I was just thrilled. I almost teared up just feeling the emotion of it. And it's part of it, just the crowd and how everybody is just so there for it. It's just one of those experiences. And to be honest with you, I've loved horse racing for about 20 years now. This is just my 5th Derby, actually. And I never really had a big interest in coming to the Kentucky Derby. I was like, hey, I would go. Some friends could talk me into it, but I'm just happy just betting it at home and just watching it from TV. But when I got here for the first time, I got it. I understood that this is a truly special cultural event, sporting event, however you want to think about it. It's worth coming to. It's super neat for the show of what everybody's wearing, in terms of the tackiness combined with the class, combined with just everybody showing up to party, and the performances by the athletes. It's sensational.
Yeah, and some of the outfits really border on the ridiculous. Like, really, you really spend money on that? Are you kidding me? I took a picture a few years ago of a woman who had passed out drunk at like an hour before the race. I put on social media. I said, "Hey, get your nap in. Post time's an hour away." She's in her purple dress. She's
Larry, it's crazy, I mean, I'm a Chiefs fan. I grew up in Kansas City. I've been to Arrowhead, and I've seen some grown men not be able to find the bathroom, in their chair. And it's that sort of level at times with some of the crowd in the audience. It's got that sort of I don't know, just a big party sort of big event sort of style to it. People really get loose, as they say.
Yeah. One of the things we're talking about Saturday on LEX 18 is just in terms of it's the 1-2 minutes of every year that we're all unified for just 2 minutes.
2 minutes.
We're all on one accord, and we're all one people watching those 2 minutes. There's no question. A couple of questions. You talked about in terms of, again, the weather being an issue. A lot of rain. Monday night, just a heavy downpour throughout Central Kentucky, Louisville region. More rain on Tuesday night. It's going to be dry there, but still a damper track than maybe if it hadn't rained. How does that affect the horses?
I think we're going to be good. So even yesterday, after that big storm, it was a heavy rain, so the water just sort of washes off pretty quick, which is great. We were still fast and firm after that. And today it looks like we'll be on the turf course. I'm not sure what it's rated yet. Probably good after taking that rain overnight, the second night of rain. But we should be fast and firm Friday and Saturday. And our turf course takes rain like nobody's business, and our dirt track, it really dries out very quick, very sandy, a lot of sand in the mixture. Every track's got a different sort of composition in terms of the materials, and the rain goes through it pretty quickly. So that's fantastic.
I got to get very quickly. I know we're running out of time. Big news last week: Churchill Downs spending $85 million to buy the right to the Preakness Stakes. They will then lease the name back to Maryland. There's been talk about maybe changing the calendar of the Triple Crown and maybe spreading it out a little bit so that therefore the Kentucky Derby winner can recover. And we've seen some trainers and owners say we're not going to run our Derby winner in the Preakness because it's too soon. Same Preakness Belmont. Is this kind of the beginning of trying to manipulate those betting organizations in Maryland and New York to begin that process with 2/3 of the Triple Crown under one umbrella?
I think it makes sense to me that people are reading between the lines and thinking that could be what unfolds. But right now, there's nothing in writing that says that Churchill Downs can adjust any of that.
Okay.
So I think that would be something that I could imagine it being a point of conversation going forward. But there's nothing in this deal that says that A, that Churchill Downs wants that, B, that this is something that they could actually legally do. Okay. So it would be interesting to me. I don't see a problem with it. I know a lot of people get really attached to the tradition. And I love that because tradition is a big part of the culture of this sport and the fan base and et cetera. But it would make sense to me to give these horses a chance to recuperate. It's just a different training. I think it's also a different animal. The breeding of thoroughbreds, they're bred for their speed and not soundness in terms of being able to come back and be war horses and race day in, day out, week in, week out. It's not the same sort of breeding to really support that. So the training methods combined with that does set up where these horses just need some time to recuperate, to get back to their best. And at least that's the belief of a lot of these horsemen. And in terms of the investment too, the investment size is so high. We just saw a horse be purchased for $10 million. And he's never raced, right? He's never raced. And you can see why with that sort of investment, with the business minds that are behind it, that they just want to be extra cautious about these animals to make sure that A, they can race and make money in the races, but B, they can be stallions and mares in terms of making that money in the breeding shed.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of money there, no question. I'm in favor of it. I understand everyone's territorial and the way they do things and the tradition of it, but I'm with you at the same time. To me, I want to see the Derby winner at the Preakness. I want to see the Preakness winner at the Belmont. And so if you have to expand that calendar, then let's maybe look at that. Final question for you right now. Again, you're there, you're a racing analyst. You've done this for a number of years. It's still early on. Things can change, but who are you picking as your favorite right now for Saturday?
Commandment. I've been attached to him for a little bit. Yeah. He is that type of horse I'm talking about who can take dirt, who can muscle through tight spots. He's just a gorilla. He's just got so many muscles. He's a tank combined with Arnold Schwarzenegger. He's as thick and of a bully and a bruiser as you can find. He's all racehorse, and he's hasn't lost since his debut. His debut was a sprint with a little bit of a troubled trip. He's been beating the best, I think, down in Florida at Gulfstream and the Florida Derby and all those prep races. And Brad Cox, he's got that one Derby title with Mandaloun being the beneficiary of a DQ that got him up there, but I think he gets it outright this year.
Okay, and let's not leave the ladies out. The Oaks, who do you like Friday night?
I like Zany. Zany is Todd Pletcher, trained filly, owned by Mike Rapoli, who is really, really good with more distance. Most of these prep races are 1 mile and 16th for the fillies. She's going to go 1 mile and 1/8. The time she did before, she ran by far the best figure of the field. I think she really stretches her legs and gets the win, going 1 mile and 1/8. And 5-1 is the price I'm looking for to bet her to win.
Okay. All right. Boy, we can't wait. Kevin, listen, great to talk with you. Man, enjoy the week. Hopefully, there's only 150,000 of our closest friends there, but somehow we find a way to bump into each other on Saturday. And appreciate your time, man. We'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, I'll look out for you. Thanks, Larry.
All right, buddy. Appreciate it. Kevin Kilroy, once again, he is a racing analyst already there at Churchill Downs, already in position, getting ready for Saturday's Kentucky Derby. Friday night's Oaks as well on NBC beginning 8 o'clock Eastern time. Under the lights, we'll get a chance to see what that's all about. It's always just a great weekend as we get ready to welcome in, get really, really ready into spring of the horse racing season. Okay, more to come. Stay here.
Those old golf clubs sitting in your garage right now, there's a good chance they're worth real money. That driver you replaced, those irons you upgraded, even that putter collecting dust. Golf Roots lets you trade them in for cash or credit toward your next set. And right now, SportsIQ listeners get exclusive offers. Take $20 off any order over $100 with code SIQSALE, or get a 15% bonus on your trade-in value with code SIQ TRADE-IN. That means the clubs in your garage could be worth even more. Golf Roots is on a mission to make golf more accessible, offering high-quality, pre-owned name brand clubs for every skill level. And if you're just starting out, the Just the Roots starter set is one of the most affordable ways to begin, with full trade-in credit when you're ready to upgrade. So don't let your old gear sit there losing value. Go to golfroots.com and see how you can start or upgrade your golf journey today. Use code SIQSALE for $20 off or SIQ TRADE-IN for 15% extra when you trade in your old clubs. That's golfroots.com. Golf Roots. Upgrade smarter. You're listening to Sports IQ with Larry Smith.
All right, great stuff there. Let's get on now to some other stuff. We're coming to the end of the first month of the baseball season. A lot of talk about the Yankees and Dodgers, and they spend the most, have a ton of talent, of course. Each leads their division. But the best record right now in baseball belongs to the Atlanta Braves. Consider what they've done in the first month here. After Matt Olson's 2-run walk-off homer last night to beat the Tigers, the Braves now 22-9. They've played 10 series. They are 9-0-1 in those series. The only thing keeping them from a perfect 10-0 mark is that 4-game split on the road with the Diamondbacks. The Braves have done all this with some unlikely heroes. Let's consider this. Dominic Smith, who the Braves found in the Major League version of the bargain bin at Walmart, is currently hitting .344, 4 homers, 17 RBI. Mauricio Dubon and Jorge Mateo, unwanted by their former teams, they've combined to steady the middle of the Braves' infield. Mateo hitting .286, Dubon slashing a .274 mark. Ozzie Albies just hit .240 in 2025, hitting a very robust .317 right now with 7 homers and 20 runs batted in. Matt Olson banging away right now, a .306 clip, 9 homers, 28 ribbies. Last year's Rookie of the Year, catcher Drake Baldwin, right now is hitting .307, 7 homers, and 25 RBI. As a team, the Braves' .273 average is tied with the Dodgers for the best mark in the league, and they lead all MLB clubs with 175 runs scored. About the pitching, well, the Braves' rotation of Bryce Elder, Martin Perez, J.R. Ritchie, and Chris Sale all have ERAs under 3. All of them, all 4. And the bullpen foursome of Raisel Iglesias, Robert Suarez, Dylan Lee, and Tyler Kinley, 6-1, 8 saves, and get this, hope you're sitting down, an earned run average of 0.91. It looks like Braves fans are in for a very fun and enjoyable summer. Tough year last year in 2025. Longtime manager Brian Snitker stepped down, the career guy with the Braves. He's now a different role there with the organization. But boy, what a job they have done in the town of Cumberland, Georgia, up there at the Truist Park, whatever it's called now. SunTrust, Truist? I don't know what the bank's name is. Anyway, great times right now for Braves fans. All right, let's talk with our friend Dennis Ackerman and talk a little Raiders talk next.
You're locked in to SportsIQ with Larry Smith.
Last day of April. Glad you're here with us. Before we turn the calendar, producer Tony is with our next guest.
Well, thanks so much, Larry. And, we few days now past the NFL draft. Everything's kind of settled. People are looking, seeing what they did, how teams did. Today, we're lucky enough to have Dennis Ackerman from the Believe in Raiders podcast joining us again. Friend of the show, friend for a long time, too long to say, back with us. Dennis, good to see you again. Raiders did the completely expected, at least right off the top, and took Francisco Mendoza. There was no surprise in any of that.
No, I mean, Tony, that was a foregone conclusion, I think, since probably the NCAA championship game, which Indiana won. And I think at that point, it was like, okay, when are you going to turn in the card? Obviously, sometime in April, we know it's going to be Fernando Mendoza. To me, Tony, the real draft for the Raiders started in the second round. And what were they going to do the rest of the draft to help give Mendoza enough support, surround him with enough talent, whether it's on the offensive line, the skill positions? But if you look at their draft, Tony, I mean, it was a very heavy emphasis on defense, in particular in the secondary, which really surprised me. I thought they could have done a better job in the early rounds of maybe adding a wide receiver, or defensive line was also a big question mark for this team heading into the draft. So they went heavy on the defensive side of the football, in particular in the secondary. But Tony, you and I were just talking. Look, everybody's got an incomplete right now in terms of draft. No, I don't want to see an A grade for the Raiders. I don't want to see an A grade for this team, for that team. We're not going to know till at least 2027, Tony, because a 7th round pick, he could become a superstar. We might have a 2nd round pick that become a bust. Tyree Wilson was the Raiders' 1st round pick a couple years ago. He never panned out. They just shipped him off to New Orleans during the draft. So there's a long way to go before we can give grades on this draft class. I just thought it was a little interesting seeing all this so-called experts giving the Raiders A's when I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to particularly, 1, I don't like grades. 2, I don't even think I could go that high. Hopefully in a couple years, things will pan out. Yay, we can give the Raiders an A for this draft. But right now, I still have a lot of question marks surrounding this team as we get to head into OTAs next. Tony.
Yeah, I mean, that's the key with any draft, right? You can't grade it based on what we see over the weekend. I think somebody may be a stud. You may think he's a bust. This guy over here thinks he's mediocre. I take him. I like this team that took him. You don't like it. Everybody's opinion is different, and it all
Yes.
takes, like you said, it might be 3 years before we know. You
Right.
got to see what these guys can do in the pros. The speed is different. The terminologies are different. The amount of preparation that goes in is different. You're not getting to take a game off and play, be an FBS school and play Sanford
Yep.
1 week and run up 500 yards of offense on the ground. That ain't happening anymore, right? So it's going to be a while before you know exactly what you have. And I think the interesting thing for me, Dennis, is the Raiders. I think a key move that they made, and look, I'm not a huge Kirk Cousins fan, but I think he's a good stopgap. He's a good teacher. He's somebody you can put in there right now, and he can start for the first 10, 11, 12 games, maybe. Buy Fernando Mendoza some time to get up to speed on the NFL game.
Tony, I couldn't agree with you more. I'm a little bit old school. I always think a rookie should start. Now, we've seen some exceptions. CJ Stroud was very good his first year with the Houston Texans. Jaden Daniels, beg your pardon, with Washington in his first season. So there are some exceptions, but I'm old school. I like to see a quarterback sit. I mean, you and I are old enough. Remember Steve McNair, drafted by the Houston Oilers, Tony?
Right.
He sat 2 seasons. I know we're not going to ever have that anymore because of the salary cap. You need that rookie deal for the quarterback so you could fill in all your other positions. I get that. And I'm with you. I'm not a huge Kirk Cousins fan, but I just feel like this team still has a lack of talent for most of the roster, a good deal of this roster, especially along the offensive line, Tony. I mean, Colton Miller is going to be the starting left tackle. He's been injury prone the last couple of years. They drafted this kid, Trey Zune, out of Texas A&M. I think he's going to be, or in their hopes, he will be the starting left guard. Then you've got Linderbaum as one of the top centers. They signed as a free agent from Baltimore. Jackson Powers Johnson, could he be the starting right guard? I don't know. He's in his 3rd season out of Oregon, Tony. I still don't know what they have in him. And then DJ Glaze is your starting right tackle. Tony, he was one of the worst starting right tackles in the NFL last year. So I don't want Kirk Cousins to take a beating, but I also don't want Fernando Mendoza to take a beating because that's the worst thing because he's your future. Cousins is in his 14th season. Okay, that's fine. He takes a beating. Okay, I'll throw Mendoza in there. But I need to keep my quarterback upright. Have they done enough to improve their offensive line? Yes, they have. But to what extent? I'm not quite sure. So as you said, the difference between the college football game and the NFL is night and day. Mendoza was throwing to receivers who were wide open at Indiana by a good 4 or 5 yards. He's now got to throw receivers open.
Right.
And the Raiders' skill set guys at the skill positions, Brock Bowers is still one of the best tight ends. I believe Ashton Jeanty is still going to be the real deal, who they took with the 6th overall pick last year. But Jalen Naylor is their best wide receiver. He was a number 3 wide receiver with Minnesota. It's Trey Tucker, Jack Besh, he's in his 2nd year. He underperformed as a rookie, and Thornton will also be in his 2nd year. I thought he underperformed. He was out of Tennessee. So at the wide receiver position, it's not going to keep a lot of defensive coordinators up at night or give them any nightmares.
Yeah, I think the Raiders are looking to still make a couple of moves down the line here. I wouldn't be surprised if, as they scour the free agents that are still out there, to try to find a right tackle to plug in, maybe a right guard to plug in, so that are veterans that are solid but not spectacular. Get them through until these other guys are maybe a little more seasons they can watch and learn a little bit more. And you can also find a wide receiver or two down the line that maybe can plug in and play a little bit and get some moments. Kind of like recently retired Adam Thielen, somebody along those lines who spent the last 3 or 4 years kind of bouncing around the league for different teams.
Yeah, look at, I mean, like I said, Jalen Naylor is your number 1 wide receiver. He was number 3 in Minnesota. You got Trey Tucker. You got Besh. I mean, I like the tight end room, and Brock Bowers to me is still one of the best tight ends. I know he was hurt last year, and his numbers were down, but I still think he's one of the best tight ends. Michael Mayer is also in that tight end room out of Notre Dame. Tony, I know you're familiar with him being a Notre Dame guy. I still think he's been underused, undervalued his first couple of seasons. So I do like the tight end room. I do expect Ashton Jeanty's numbers to be better in his 2nd year because, like I said, the offensive line, I'm not sure how much it's improved, but I know it is better than when it was a year ago when he was either getting hit at the line of scrimmage, Ashton Jeanty, or was getting hit right as he got the handoff, who was ever at quarterback for the Raiders. So the offense will be better. To what extent, I don't know. But it was one of the worst in the league a year ago for a myriad of reasons. But I do know it will be better. How much remains to be seen.
Yeah, I think I read a stat somewhere that said Genti got hit at the line or behind the line like 60% of the time. It was some ridiculous figure
Right.
that, that's tough to gain yards when you're starting out. My first contact is 2 yards behind the line. Come on. Help me out here, fellas. Throw me a bone, something, But I think that, I would like to see the Raiders do a little more two tight end. That has become a more prominent offense. Even in this pass happy league that we live in right now, you see more teams using 2 tight ends. And if you've got 2 guys as good as Mayer and Brock Bowers, you can maybe use that to make up for the fact that your wide receiver room might be a little lacking.
Yeah, and Clint Kubiak's a little bit old school, Tony. He wants to bring back the fullback as well. So I think when you look at the Seahawks, Tony, that was a run-heavy team with Kenneth Walker last year, leading them to the Super Bowl. So I do think you're going to see more of a 2 tight end, 2 running back set with the Raiders, and I'm okay with that. If that's the strength of your football team, and Tony, we've always said, who's a quarterback's best friend? It's either a running game or the tight end, right?
Yep, absolutely.
And I think the Raiders are in good shape, both at the tight end position and at the running back position. And they just got the kid, was it Mike Washington? They drafted him to be the backup running back out of Arkansas to Ashton Genti. So if he lives up to what everybody's saying, that could be a pretty good 1-2 punch in the backfield for the Raiders. And look, when your running game is going, it also sets up the play action pass as well. So the Raiders, Clint Kubiak, a little bit old school in his approach. Let's run the football, not let's go 5 wide, spread everybody out and throw it 50, 60 times. No. That's not how Seattle was, and that's not how the Raiders are going to be built here in 2026 and moving forward.
In that defense, I know they needed some help along the secondary, but they also needed some help up front. It seemed like last year Max Crosby was a one-man band up front, and most teams would just say, you know what, you're playing on left, I'm going the other way. It was just that easy, right?
Well, here's the deal, Tony. They're making the transition from a 4-3 to a 3-4.
Okay.
And I felt the one area they really needed was a defensive tackle, and they didn't address that till the 7th round. And they have Adam Butler. Okay, Adam Butler's really not a household name. I don't know how much he's going to be able to really bring to the table. So that's a big transition for this team, going from a 4-3, which Tony, I've been following the Raiders since the 70s. Al Davis must be turning over his grave because he always ran a 4-3 with his franchise. Yeah. And now, under new defensive coordinator Rob Leonard, they're going to a 3-4. So it's going to be a much different look. They signed a handful of linebackers. They also drafted the kid, I want to make sure I get his name here. He's somewhat of a Kieran Crawford, edge rusher out of Auburn. That was the one that was a head scratcher to me in the 3rd round. You went there instead of addressing the defensive tackle position. They re-signed Malcolm Kuntz. He came on a little bit at the end of 2025 after missing all of 2024 with a knee injury. So if he can regain his form, okay, obviously Max Crosby's still one of the top defensive edge rushers in the NFL. I think he might be one of the most complete edge rushers because Tony plays the run just as well as he plays the pass. Yep. So you're good there. You got a lot. You're very young in your secondary. So I think it's going to be not only making the transition from the 4-3 to the 3-4, but trying to incorporate so many new faces, whether it's through free agency, whether it's through the draft, whether it's not addressing that nose tackle position. I think you could see some growing pains through the early part of 2026 for the Raiders. And then hopefully whenever that bye comes, I know the schedule's we look at May 12th, May 14th?
Second week of May.
For the schedule release. Yep. Yeah, I think that's going to be big whenever the Raiders bye does it correct. I'm hoping it's towards the middle of the season because I think then, maybe that's when we might throw Mendoza into the fire. Hey, maybe after the bye, that's when our defense could take a turn. This is what we're trying to do. Okay, now we can see some progress. It might not result in W's, but as long as you can see there's hope, and there's progress, that's what you're looking for in 2026 from the Raiders, because they're still not going to compete, Tony, especially in the AFC West. It's still loaded. I believe the Chiefs will be back. Denver, I think, should have been in the Super Bowl last year if Bo Nix doesn't get hurt. And the Chargers are still a playoff team. What they do in the postseason is another thing. Right. But they're still a postseason team.
Yeah, it's a really rough division out there in the AFC West to compete in, and you've got that's 6 of your games right there against teams that all made the play. Well, the Chiefs didn't make the playoffs, but look, if you don't think the Chiefs are going to be back being a playoff caliber team, I want to get whatever it is you're taking on the side. I'm not sure what it is, but it can't be legal. Let's put it that way. It's going to be an interesting season for the Raiders and their fans. The good thing, Dennis, I think, is being still new in Las Vegas. It's only been a few years still. I think they've still got a lot of goodwill with those fans who have waited so long to get a team. And Raider fans are so passionate. Yes, they want to win and they want to see this team get better, but I think they'll give them some time to get there.
One thing I've said about Raider fans, Tony, they're probably loyal to a fault. Since 2002, 2 playoff performances. 2.
Yeah.
And they're 0-2, Tony. Now, you and I are old enough to know that from, let's say, the mid-'60s to the early 2000s, this was one of the marquee franchises in the NFL.
Absolutely.
There's maybe 5 or 6 of them, and the Raiders were one of them. But over the last few decades, 20-something years, they have been a downtrodden franchise. They've been one of the worst in the NFL. They've gone through several head coaches. They've gone through several general managers. They've obviously moved a couple of times. So it's been a myriad of reasons. Vegas is one of those weird cities where there's so many transplants, Tony, and you can see when you turn on a Raider game when they're playing at home. There's half the stadium's from the visiting side, half of it's a home. So look, and Oakland surely had a home field advantage. There was no ifs, ands, buts about that. Much, much different. So I think, like I just said a few moments ago, I think the fan base realizes this team has a plan for once. Spytek, Kubiak, Tom Brady, whoever you want to say in the front office, everybody is on the same page, Tony.
Yeah.
You saw it in free agency. You've seen it in the draft, okay? We're all on the same page. We know this is a rebuild. We know we're not going to be that competitive in 2026. Let's gear everything towards 2027. The last time we saw this, you probably got to go back to 2016 when the early stages of Derek Carr, Khalil Mack, Jack Del Rio was the head coach. Yeah, in 2016, they were one of the better teams. I think they could have made a decent playoff run back then if Derek Carr doesn't break his ankle.
Yeah.
So this is the first time probably in 10 years, Tony, that everybody is on the same page. We've got a plan. Let's go out and execute it. Let's stick to it no matter what the record shows in 2026. Yep. We're in this for the long haul, not for a year, not for 2 years. We're in it for the long haul. And I think that's where it gives the fan base some hope, looking at the organization saying, okay, I think they know what they're doing for once.
Yeah, I think that's the key is you just want to look ahead and see, okay, are we rolling the stone downhill a little bit? Or, we've been pushing it up for a long time. Can we at least get to the plateau so that we can see downhill and start getting it down there and get that momentum going? Dennis, thank you so much for joining us. Great insight. Believe in Raiders podcast. Dennis Ackerman and Stanford Roush are your co-hosts. Check them out, especially if you're a Raiders fan. You get some great insight on a regular basis. Dennis, thanks so much. Appreciate you taking time out and talking to us.
Thanks for having me as always, Tony. Great catching up with you.
Great seeing you again, my friend. We're going to take a quick break, but we'll be right back with more after this.
Listen, were you forced into getting a solar contract and now you just don't want it anymore? Maybe the solar company misled you. Or is your solar contract buried with hidden fees? Are you not saving the amount of money you thought you would on your energy costs? Don't worry. At the Solar Exit Hotline, we can help you cancel your solar contract, even if the panels are already installed. Our experienced legal team will review your contract and help you cancel it, possibly saving you thousands of dollars. You got to call right now for complete details. So listen, if you're not happy with your solar contract for any reason, we are here to help you cancel it. Call the Solar Exit Hotline now for immediate options to help you exit your solar contract. This call is 100% free. Call 855-227-0286. That's 855-227-0286. Call us right now.
Great chat there. Producer Tony now joining us, talk a little NBA. And, the Lakers, boy, they were cruising right along, and then all of a sudden, they're not. Did not see this series going to 6 games the way they blew through the first 3 games of the series with Houston.
No, you really thought they'd be able to close it out at home. If you're the Lakers, you really, really wanted to close this out at home. You did not want to go to an extra game. You've got to travel back to Houston now. They have all the momentum. They're starting to figure out this Laker team. They're figuring out what the Lakers are doing, and they now have taken command of this series. I mean, look, I know they're still down 3-2, but right now you got to be thinking the Rockets may actually be the favorites. Could the Lakers and LeBron James actually be the first team in NBA history to blow a 3-0 lead?
Oh boy. And we just talked about we've been applauding LeBron and what he's done to carry the Lakers in this first round. But it's almost like, remember Tracy McGrady? I don't know if you recall this years ago. Orlando went up 3-1 on Detroit. And I was actually happened to be in Orlando when this happened. I was taking the kids to Disney. They were in grade school. And Tracy McGrady told a reporter, this is great. This is so awesome. After the game 4 win, which is a 3-1, this is great. I've never been to the second round of the playoffs before. This is awesome. They went on to lose the next 3. So Tracy McGrady, his entire career, Hall of Famer, never won a playoff series, ever. It's one of these things, you again, the old saying, you don't count your chickens before they hatch.
Absolutely. And, look, the Lakers last night got probably the best game they could possibly hope for out of DeAndre Ayton. 18 points, 17 boards.
Yeah.
That's about as good as it gets. But you know what? And we talked about it with Ben Royer and we talked about it with Jasmine. The Rockets have figured out Luke Kennard. They totally took him out of the game. He was 0 for 4, 0 for 2 from 3, only had 1 point all night long. Wow. Only, he played 31 minutes. It's not like he played 10 minutes. He played 31 minutes. They just couldn't get anything out of him. And they've also taken away Marcus Smart. Yeah, Austin Reeves came back and had 22 last night, but it was just he and James. And it's like the offense kind of lost that momentum that they have. And they also didn't play, for whatever reason. We've known Austin Reeves plays matador defense. Well, that came back to hurt him because they lost the game by 6. It's going to be, I think it's going to be really tough at this point for the Lakers to win this series. I mean, you hate to think about it. You hate to think if LeBron does decide to retire, if this would be his last vestige on an NBA stage to lose a 3-0 lead. Not how you want to see one of the game's greats go out.
Yeah, totally agree. Meanwhile, Detroit showing some moxie finally. They get the win Game 5 to keep that series alive. So now back to Orlando, Game 6. It still feels to me like advantage magic. The Pistons need to show more than this, a more concerted effort.
Yeah, they need to really just play a little bit harder. They haven't been able to match the physicality of the Magic. They did for stretches last night, but not overall. They just happened to shoot the ball better than they had at other times in the series to keep that thing going and to keep it alive. While I think the Rockets may have the advantage now over the Lakers, I still think the Magic up 3-2 have the advantage, especially they're going home, to close this out, and you want to. If you're a Magic fan, you're going, we have to do it now. Do not go back to Detroit for a Game 7.
Yeah, totally agree. And by the way, how about this first round? We were just talking before we started the show. I'm sure this has happened. I just haven't paid attention. Maybe it happened last year. I don't know, but it just feels strange that right now of the 8 opening round series, at least 6 are going 6 games. Only the Spurs and the Thunder are sitting at home. Everyone else is still playing.
And you know what? You know who's loving it? The Spurs and the Thunder.
That's right.
The other teams are all beating their brains in, just trying to get out of the first round. Extra bumps, extra bruises. We're sore. We're tired. We're putting out extra effort. When you've got certain guys like, look, LeBron played 39 minutes last night. His body can't take too many more games like that, right? In this playoff time. How many other guys are out there playing 38, 39, 40 minutes? Look, the Spurs and Thunder really have shown, especially over the last 6 weeks, Larry, that they're the class of the NBA field. Right now they're sitting back. They'll be relaxing. See, they can spend their Saturday watching the Derby and having the mint julep. Nobody else can.
Exactly.
They got to get ready to go at it again.
You're exactly right. Because some may be in a Game 7 or they're traveling for a Game 1. It could be, let's face it, this Lakers-Rockets series goes to 7 games. Well, Game 7 would be on Sunday in LA, and they wouldn't move on to face the Thunder until, Tuesday, Wednesday night. So you're exactly right. They could have about a full week off. So it is. Someone else who's loving it is the NBA because all this is just gravy. These ads they're selling, they base their budgets on a 4-game series. And so this is all just they're laughing all the way to the bank, which seeing the numbers after the first quarter, they need to laugh all the way to the bank because it was not good. Okay, our moment of all is up next.
I get a lot of calls from people across the country who are suffering from the affliction of IRS tax debt, and that's because I have a remedy. Hi, I'm the tax doctor, and if you're having any of these tax issues, call me right now. My team specializes in helping people over the age of 50 solve their tax problems, and the bigger your tax problem is, the more money you can save. If you owe the IRS money, or you're about to owe the IRS money, or even if you need to file years of unfiled returns, call us right now. Our friendly, highly trained representatives are waiting right now to take your call. Over the years, we've helped thousands of people just like you stop the tax liens, wage garnishments, and harassing phone calls. You don't need to send the IRS a big fat check. We can negotiate a lower amount. That's what we guarantee for you. So call us right now. Call 833-789-3068.
Okay, time now for a moment of all. This one's really cool. It goes out to, I believe you say her name is Olivia Pichardo from Brown University. Over the weekend, Olivia became the first woman ever to pitch in a Division I baseball game. It happened Saturday when Brown played host to Cornell. This was in Providence. Brown leading the game 16-4. Olivia came on with 2 outs in the 9th inning, and she got the Cornell player to ground out to short to end the game. Now, it's not the first milestone for Olivia. In 2023, as a freshman, she became the first female to make a Division I baseball roster. She's appeared in 5 other games for Brown, mostly as a pinch runner or pinch hitter. This was her first outing as a pitcher, and she did it perfectly to stamp her name in the record books. Olivia Pichardo, you get our moment of awe. Cool stuff there. Great guests as well. Glad to have him here. Kevin Kilroy, also our friend Dennis Ackerman as well. Appreciate you. Man, it's just a great day. Great Thursday. Let's go out and have that. And we'll do it again tomorrow on the Sports IQ. We'll see you then.
Thanks for listening to Sports IQ with Larry Smith, Monday through Friday. Continue the conversation at SportsIQ LS. We'll see you next time.